Aboro boy, this is Olu Fakola Vidin Kaifa Temple. We welcome you to our Ile Juba Temple service. We do this every first and third Sunday. We welcome you today. And we also want to share with you Happy Hoodoo Heritage Month. We're going to share some things about that coming soon. So, today we want to begin our service with morning prayer. So if you are near your Ifa, you're near your shrines, please let us pray. Mojuba Oloron, Mojuba Oloron Mare, Mojuba Bobo Romale, Mojuba Bobo Male, Mojuba Bobo Egun Timbili, Solodo Mare, Mojuba Miss Mother Dear Lucy Dennis Murray, Mojuba Doris Hall, Mojuba Basement Senior, Mojuba Alfred Dennis, Mojuba Cooper Dennis Watkins, Mojuba Dahlia, Mojuba Zion, Mojuba Naga, Mojuba Cooper Holmes, Mojuba Cooper Watkins, Mojuba Jenny Dunn, Mojuba Kitty Bradley, Mojuba Oscar Bradley, Mojuba James Owens, Mojuba Benino Chino, Bill No Black Dennis, Agustin Vilmil, Mojuba Bobo Egun Timbili, Sodomai, Mojuba to all of our elders, Mojuba to Catherine Omo Lucille, Mojuba Robert Omo, Catherine McCoy, Mojuba Solagbade Popola, Mojuba Irawefa, Mojuba Erimi Agbola, Mojuba Baba Felipe Garcia Vermil, Mojuba to all of our elders who led us on this path of Ifa and Orisha, and also those elders who have just sustained our lives up to this point, our parents, our aunts, our uncles, those individuals who we cherish. We pay homage to you. Ajogbe, he who hears people's pleas and set the pleas. He who hears people's pleas and approves the pleas. He who talks to people and says that the talk is completely absorbed. He who hears people's pleas and set the pleas, name V5. He who hears people's pleas and approves the pleas, name shall die. He who talks to people and ensures that the talk is completely absorbed, name for Shana. Or Shana, you're the person Muslim beings. Person Muslim can I felt some press one. Strike frogs and systems rainfall. Blow frogs and systems downpour. It is whatever the accurate Dupont, true tells us, authentic accepts. Whatever the big rat tells us, authentic accepts. All what I tell you, if I please accept them and approve them. I should. Autority. To show gratitude upon gratitude is all of our gratitude. To display benevolence upon benevolence is the all of our benevolence. Whoever not show gratitude for yesterday's benevolence, such a person when I receive today's gratuity. These are declarations to the 401 in Rumeland, going to Mario Prayer, Orisha Uji. These are also declarations to Orumila. We're going to Mario Prayer, daughter Uji. I'm grateful. I see my gratuity. I'm grateful for yesterday's favor. I see today's gratuity. Autority. We were very grateful. Shit. Àwa dúpẹ́, àwa bore, àwa dúpẹ́, àwa bore. Adúpẹ́ àná àwòkọ́rẹ́ tó nẹ́bọ̀ Olódùmarè. Àwa dúpẹ́, àwa àbúrẹ́, àwa dúpẹ́ àwa àbúrẹ́. Adúpẹ́ àná àwòkọ́rẹ́ tó nẹ́bọ̀ Oyíyàní. Àwa dúpẹ́, àwa àbúrẹ́. Àwa dúpẹ́ àwa àbúrẹ́. Adúpẹ́ àná àwòkọ́rẹ́ tó nẹ́bọ̀ Irúnmọlẹ̀. Àwa dúpẹ́, àwa àbúrẹ́. Àwa dúpẹ́ àwa àbúrẹ́. Adúpẹ́ àná àwòkọ́rẹ́ tó nẹ́bọ̀ lẹ́gùn lóríṣà. Oromila, we call on you. We call on you and ask for forgiveness. Forgive us for anything that we have done incorrectly, any taboos we might have broken, anything that we might have done wrong. We call on the Odu Ifa Eros, the Tutu pounding down without soup, can very difficult to consume. These decorations for the child of Agbeneragun, he was full of bad character, he was bad attitude, hyperventilating from entity violence man. Now comes this list on behalf of Tutu. We've come to beg on behalf of Tutu. How many children does Ifa have that he will cast for now? Those who beg on behalf of Tutu. Ifa, we ask that you would continue to push away death, push away sickness, push away cases and controversy, ward off fights, litigation, losses in our fights, ward off witchcraft and negative energy from us. Bring forth to us long life, wealth, good spouse, and good children, peace of mind, healing. We call on the Odu, Ogbealara. Arumla says time to sleep. Ayakwood is time to sleep when the day dawned. Met Arumla on the 16th room, where he covered his head with a flowing gown full of lice. He was wearing a dress full of bloodstains. He was snoring heavily. They told him that a delegate from his disciple arrived. Arumla inquired about the delegate brought. They told him that brought 2 rats swift and running, 2 fish graceful swimming, 2 birds swift in flight, and 2 goats with big livers. Arumla said, that is not enough to wake him up. I admit my ignorance, which educate me. Motuna Karaba. I hide myself in your bosom and survive. Motuna Karaba. The dog king masquerade be Sagwajon Pili. Dog king masquerade be Sagwajon Pili to perform rituals because of children. You are the leaders, we are the followers. These are the ones that show the followers wisdom. Arumla told them to get, alligator pepper. To get cola nut, to get bitter corn, to get alcohol. The copper got the alligator pepper. You got the corn, got the bitter corn, and you got the alcohol. That is right, now he is fully awake. Arumla, when you're fully awake, please look with your eyes of compassion. This is with eyes of compassion. The heavenly stars, echo the stars below. Arumla, when you're fully awake, please look with your eyes that help one to secure good, great wealth. There's such good eyes that heavenly stars use to look at the stars below. Arumla, when you're fully awake, please look at me with your eyes which help one to secure good spouses. Such good eyes my spouse would use and look at me with. Arumla, when you're fully awake, please look at me with your eyes which help one to bear many children. There's such good eyes a child should use and looking at a well-decorated play before long night to far join us in the midst of all they ran life. If I please hear all of our prayers, please continue to ward off death, ward off sickness, ward off cases and controversy, ward off fights, litigation, losses in our fights, ward off witchcraft and negative energy from us, ward off evil and danger from us, ward off all challenges. And in its place, bring to us long life, wealth, good spouse, good children, peace of mind, healing, success, victory. Give us sustenance throughout this month, throughout this year. Ifa, please move my ego out of the way so that we can hear words of Ifa. Move my ego out of the way so that we can hear from you, Olodumare. Emma kami meni amo, Emma kami meni ano, Emma kami meni adelokun, Tamole tori Ifa aloni mi, Ebora timpanini, Enibanami, àwọn àti Ifa lelejo. Ashe. Ifa, we ask that you would hear our prayers. Oshe Torah. Akekene bagisa, the abstract chocolate against the tree, Cassie for Ruma, when he see Gibana chef from Ludum. If no one touch me, they surely be wealthy. Akekene bagisa, and the mouth of ones that Zibana share in the mouth of an owl. If no one touch have joy, she'll live joy. Akekene bagisa, and the mouth of ones that Zibana share in the mouth of an owl. If no one touch have victory, she'll live victory. Akekene bagisa, and the mouth of ones that Zibana share in the mouth of an owl. If no one touch have all good things of life, you should surely have all good things of life. I kick in baggy side, and the mouth was Zibana, she and the mouth now will. Ashe, Oshe Torah. Honey on the feet of Tubu. Stop of commandments, not big enough to use this head yet. Had I been enough to use this head, I would have taken it home and done my head with it. Easy 5 decorations to Arula. I'm going on a spiritual mission to a Jebu. The Conlocks been sent money. Consult say make rich. Con Arula, respect, and a Jebula. Oshe Arula, is a good hour. Ashe. Ashe Orisha lẹ́nu mi, Ashe Orisha lẹ́nu mi. Ọgbọ́n tí mo bá màmá wí o, ìrúnmọlẹ̀ ó bà. Ifá ọba o, Ashe Orisha lẹ́nu mi. Ashe o. Mímọ́ dúró tí mo súre. Mímọ́ bẹ̀rẹ̀ tí mo súre. Mímọ́ kúnlẹ̀ tí mo súre. Mímọ́ jọ̀kọ́ tí mo súre. Ire tí mo sú orí ti bọ́. Now, let us hold our head. Your Ori is your good lecture. Ori ẹni làrúra ìyá ni ọ. Ori ẹni làrúra ìyá ni. Mọ́júlọ́ mi ò fà wá mọ́rí. Ori ẹni làrúra ìyá ni. Àṣẹ. Bọ̀bọ̀rẹ̀ Jásù. Ifá ọba Ọlọ́run. Àti bàjájú. Ifá ọba Ọlọ́run. Oshe Aru Ila Ifá ti bọ́. Follow the mind, the divinities. We thank you for life. We thank you for health. We thank you for food, clothing, and shelter. We thank you for all the things that you have brought to us. We ask that you will continue to look after us, to push all the negative forces away from us. Ward off death, ward off sickness, cases, controversy, ward off fights, ward off the challenges, ward off the haters, and help us to see a good condition. Help our families to be blessed. Help our children to be well. Help our elders to live long. And we thank you. Ashe, Aboru, Aboye, Aboshishe, Agbato. Good morning. Ekaro, Ekabo. We thank you for joining us. Once again, this is Oluwo Fakolade. And I want to welcome you to our Ile Jubash service. I want those of you online, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, please, now is the time to like and share. I'm sure there are people who will enjoy what we have to share today. Please like and share. And also, those of you who are new, and also those of you who've joined us before, send us a shout out on the chat. We will interact with you throughout this temple service. So let's get down to it. Today's service is about pretenders and haters being exposed, and the fact that Ifa will reveal your enemies and you don't have to do anything, and Ifa will eventually neutralize them. But before we jump into our temple service today, I want to begin with a new thing that I kind of thought about. It's in alignment with Hoodoo Heritage Month. So those of you who don't know what Hoodoo Heritage Month is, it is a time where we honor our ancestors who forged the path for us, particularly as African Americans, in African spirituality, and those individuals who maintained, right? Oftentimes we don't really talk about and or acknowledge African Americans, Black folks in the South, Black folks in the United States who maintained African spirituality, which made a way for many of us who are African American to even be in Ifa, Palo, Lokumi, Akan tradition. So we want to pay homage to those ancestors, those ones who maintained, who struggled and fought in resistance against white supremacy, slavery, and enslavement. So we want to pay homage to them today, and we're going to pay homage to them all month long. So we're going to have some content and more things regarding Hoodoo Heritage Month. But before we get into our temple service in alignment with Hoodoo Heritage, We want to pay homage to Fannie Lou Hamer today. This woman from Montgomery County, Mississippi, she fought for voting rights alongside Martin Luther King and others for African Americans, as well as she was a very spiritual woman. And she was also a victim of forced sterilization and medical apartheid inflicted upon African American women. When she went to the hospital for the removal of a cyst in her stomach, the doctor removed her uterus without her knowing and also without her consent. And this was, and possibly still is, a common practice for doctors to force sterilize poor Black women in the South. And she coined the phrase the Mississippi appendectomy to describe it. So today we honor Fannie Lou Hamer for her power, for her resilience, and for being a stellar example of our hoodoo heritage. Now, let us begin. You pretenders, ye pretenders, you have been exposed. Ifa will reveal our enemies and neutralize them. What are we talking about today? Well, today we live in a time when empires are falling. Y'all know that the dollar is dropping in value. American dollar. Secrets are being revealed and exposed, and the decadence of this country that we know about is being revealed. It is difficult for any of us to ignore the realization of the revealing of the decadence of people like Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, and of course, most recently in the news, Sean Puffy Combs. I want to focus less on the exact details of what these individuals have done and more on the fact that um, they have done actions egregious, so reprehensible, so dishonorable that our perception of their celebrity status has changed and transformed them forever in our eyes. Scandals are being revealed. Poisonous secrets are being exposed to the world. One thing that we are clear about and that we know is that evil does exist in this world. There are people in this world who will hurt little children. There are people in this world who really want to see you fail. There are murderers, molesters, killers, and colonizers in high places. And in many respects, we are in a constant war between the good in this world and the real live Ajogun in human form. But Ifa and Olodumare do not want us to fear. There is a solution. Today, we will discuss some of the real issues at hand, and we will also discuss the solution. This makes me think about a woman, an aristocrat in New Orleans. Her name was Madame Delphine Lalérine. And this woman was a noted Creole aristocrat roughly during the time of 1825. And this woman began a reign of terror in her mansion on 1140 Royal Street in the French Quarter. Her terrorizing actions were revealed when a 70-year-old enslaved African woman who was chained to a stove opted to commit suicide by burning down the mansion, then live another agonizing moment as a slave. When the fire was extinguished, numerous enslaved Africans were discovered in this woman's attic. Some in varying degrees of malnutrition, others with open wounds. They were chained to the wall, some chained and confined in cages, some with holes bored into their skulls as a victim of Lalérine's weird science experiments on individuals that she considered to be property. When her true nature was revealed, she fled and ended up in France, where she eventually died many years later. Lalerine's story reminds us that evil does exist in the world, and oftentimes those who do evil, such evil, even seems to elude them, and they elude blame and even punishment, but there is always a consequence for such actions in the long run. Ifa says in the Odu Ifa Ogbesa, if a babalawo is in grave want, let that babalawo not lie. If an herbalist is in grave need, let that herbalist not be dishonest. Let no one lie or display dishonesty because of accountability when one dies. These were Ifa's declarations to Orunmila when unknown people, pretenders, were waging war against him. He was advised to offer Ebo. He complied. Now, ye pretenders, you have all been exposed. You pretenders. I now know that the python, which pretended in the likes of the Gabon viper, you pretenders, you have been exposed. You pretenders. I now recognize the Agbadu, which pretended in the likeness of the boa constrictor. You pretenders, you have been exposed. Ye pretenders. I can now see that in Wowo Ereke, impersonator who claimed that he was Orunmila himself. You pretenders, you have been exposed. Ye pretenders. We don't need to say anything more. That is the crux of what we're talking about today. Orunmila at this time was finding it difficult to make ends meet. And what he also saw was that there were babalaos who were being dishonest. They were shortchanging people. They were charging them for ebos and not doing the ebos. And they were doing little weird tricks like Awos would take 30 ikin that were gigantic size and they were juggling them to find Odu to divine with. And they were doing things that were unnecessary and very dishonest. And after Orunmila saw this, some of them even said, well, Orunmila, you aren't making any money. Why don't you charge 100 extra here and 1,000 extra there? Why don't you overcharge for a divination? Why don't you overcharge for an ebo and then not do it? And Orunmila thought to himself, and he said he would not do that. He went for Ifa consultation. And as he went for Ifa consultation, he was told to maintain who he was and also offer Ebo. Stay honest. Stay true. So Orunmila did that. But the crazy thing about the situation is that things didn't get better immediately. Shortly thereafter, these individuals even began to say to folks, I am Orunmila. Orunmila literally got his identity stolen. And people were doing negative things in his name. And as this process went on, Orunmila continued to stay true. He exemplified that of the Oloto Aye, which is the honest man of the world. And as Orunmila maintained his position of honesty and clarity, eventually those individuals were exposed. People began to see the veil being lifted. The people that they thought were decent awos and good people and individuals who they thought were doing good and correct things were not doing good things at all, and they were able to see them for who they were. Ifa says, no matter if you thought you got away with the crime, you will be punished for your bad actions. Somehow the negative secret will be exposed. Today, Today, we look at Africatown in Alabama, where in 1860, 116 Africans were illegally transported to Mobile from Ouida, Dahomey, taken literally from Africa illegally and brought to Alabama after the transatlantic slave trade was made against the law. Just now, 10 years later, the slave ship Clotilda has been unearthed. It was sunk by the white men who snatched these Africans illegally. They brought them to the edge of Plateau, Alabama, and they burned the slave ship Clotilda and allowed it to sink into the ground. My point is, no matter how much you try to hide the truth, no matter how much one tries to hide their decadence and their lies, one day it will be exposed. You couldn't sink the truth. You can't sink the Clotilda for it not to eventually be found and revealed. Now, the ship Clotilda has been found on the banks of the Mobile River. As I said, lies are being revealed. The hidden decadence of negative character cannot be hidden for any longer. If we do not see their punishment, we will witness the exposure of their lies. Ye pretenders, you have been exposed. I want to talk about the Odu Ifa Ogbe Weighing. Ogbe Weighing says a confusion tongue sounds confusing. Trickle speech sounds trickish. The greeting in Egba has monetary connotation. Hello, child of fish is the way Ketu people greet each other. Ekunke is that of Ijesaland. Orumila, the Babalawo of Abi, was the one who cast Ifa for Abi when going to the meeting where they kill and eat their children at the feast. She was advised to offer Ebo. She complied. Now Abi provided the money for the feast. Abi provided the drum. Abi provided the skin, which the drum we are beating was made. Ifa says in this story, there was a woman, her name was Abi, and she was part of this women's organization. And these women were progressive, they were upwardly mobile in the community, and they were the movers and shakers in the community. One of the requirements to be a part of this organization is that you had to have a child. You had to have a kid in order to join this organization. Or these women would also assist Abi in elevating her life, her business, her situation. And these women would often have their meetings. Their meetings would usually be very late at night during the darkest part of the night between 1 a.m. and 5 p.m. And they would always meet near a 3-road crossroads. The meetings would rotate from house to house. Each member would have a meeting at their house. After the next week, they would have the next individual, the next month, or what have you. And each member would serve drinks. Each member would slaughter their own child, serve their cooked child to all the guests, and use the skin of their child as the drum to skin their drum. And they would beat the drum and sing and sing and sing until the skin ripped. And that would be the end of the ritual. And it would usually end just before the sun rose. Of course, Abi was completely unaware of all these circumstances. She didn't know what was going on. She just knew it was a bunch of cool women who were upwardly mobile. having a party and these wonderful hors d'oeuvres. And then it became her turn to host the party. They gave Abi the requirements. They told her that the requirements of the meeting, you provide the food, the drink, and we do it kind of near your three-road crossroads. But what we need is every meeting, one of our members kills one of their children. So you've got to kill your child, skin your child, and then use that skin to skin the drum that we beat and we sing. And Abi was like, whoa, I'm mortified and scared. And she was like, my goodness, what is going on at these meetings? I never knew this is what we were doing. And her meeting, her colleague said, well, you need to kill your child because you were eating of all of our children. She didn't realize what she had gotten herself into. She didn't realize the problem of being amongst these individuals. She didn't know really what they were into. Abi was a little bit in too deep. She then ran to Ifa. She ran to the home of Orunmila. She was frightened. She was appalled. She was completely shocked at the level of inhumanity of these women. She told Orunmila the issue, and Orunmila told her, one, she needed to be more careful of who she spent her time with. Next, he told her, we will solve this, we'll offer a bow, and we'll use he-goat. And you do it as normal. We'll use the he-goat as a bow, slaughter that goat, and then we'll use the skin to skin the drum. Prepare it and serve it to everyone. So she did as she was told. She prepared the goat. She served the goat like everyone had served their hors d'oeuvres before. And she skinned the drum. And the women ate and they drank and they had a wonderful time. They partied and then they began to beat their drum. They beat their drum, they beat their drum, and it wouldn't tear. They beat it and they beat it and they beat it and they realized it wouldn't tear. They beat it even harder and it wouldn't tear. And as they continued to beat this drum, soon the sun began to break the horizon. It was taboo for such individuals to be out in the light of day. They realized that they had been tricked. But Ifa said, even though she didn't serve you with what you were served with, what you were serving her, she paid the money for the party. She did her due diligence. You must leave her alone. As a result, that was the way Abi was able to leave the association without any of those people utilizing her child as the offering. So the first point of the day is be careful of the company you keep. Sometimes the negativity is difficult to see because it is so close. Abi's problem was not Abi's problem was not clear about the women in her group. She wasn't clear about who these women were, number one, and she was not clear about the purpose of the group. She was shocked and surprised by the true nature of her friend group. She thought she knew these women. She thought she could trust these women. Be careful who you trust. Be careful of who you think folk are. They might not be who you think you are. I heard a person say, The world is not what you think it is. The celebrities that we see on TV, don't be fooled because you think you know them. Investigate deeper so you know what you're getting into. Investigate deeper so you know who you are getting to know. Ifa says in Eretemeji, Eyele Boyi Ranyin Lojude Apon. He was the Awocast Ifa for Orumila when Iyami were fighting against them and they were accusing Iyewa. He was advised to offer a bow. He complied. Behold, Oshun Iyewa Otoro. Ephon will never fight against anyone to the extent of harming his or her children. In this Odu, Orumila and Oshun were married. They lived in Ile-Ife. And at this particular time in Ile-Ife, their crops were failing. There was pestilence throughout the land and the area. Expectant mothers lost their babies. Wealthy people became debtors and they became poverty stricken. And Oshun became very, very outspoken about defending the rights of women. As a result of her protection, these women came into problems and men came into problems. And when Oshun went to defend these men and women, she came into issues with this Iyami power structure. These Iyamis got upset because anytime they would tie a woman down or they would ensure that a man lost all his money, that Oshun would support and help that individual do rituals and then they would become free. So they passed a nasty rumor. They began to say that Oshun was the reason for the miscarriages and the pestilence and the problems. The people accused Oshun in the open public, and Oshun stated her innocence, yet no one believed her. They wanted to excommunicate Oshun from Ile-Ife, but before they did, they went to talk to her husband. They decided they were going to tell on her. So they go to Orumila and they said, your wife is causing all these problems in the community. What are you going to do about it? And Orumila realized that the things that they are saying about Oshun could not be true because he knew the nature of his wife. It's important to know the nature of who you're with. And when he defended her, the crowd then converged on Orumila and said, you are working in concert with her to destroy Ife. Orumila and Oshun both felt betrayed by the people. They felt that they didn't know who they were. Oshun, who would never do anything to harm a mother or a child, now these people are saying that Oshun is the reason for their miscarriages, their problems, the abiku of children. Oshun was said to be the killer of children. Yet she herself was a mother and she loved children. Both Orumila and Oshun went for Ifa consultation with one of Orumila's students. The Babalao's name was Ayele Poyirayin Lojude Apon. And he told them that they would be vindicated and the actual culprits would be exposed. All they needed to do was offer their ebo and stay in alignment with Ifa. They did not need to curse anybody. They did not need to fight anybody. They needed to stay in alignment in that divine pocket with Ifa. They offered the abo, and shortly thereafter, Eshu Odara went into action. Eshu went to the head of the Iami, and he told the head of the Iami of Ile-Ife that he really hated Oshun, and he really hated Orumila. And so the head of the Iami said, man, this is great. Let's invite Eshu to our meetings. And he was going to be on our side. He can be a really strong force to destroy these people completely. And when he did this, he got there and he began to analyze the situation. He reiterated how much he hated Oshun, and Eshu asked the head of the Iamis, he said, when you share the blood and the flesh of your victims, who do you share it with? And she said 1/10 of it goes to her, and then she shares the rest with her subordinates. And she said, well, when you share, do you also share like the liver, the lungs, and the kidneys of the ones that you destroy? And she said, yeah, I share all those with my subordinates. And as she said, you can share the body, but don't share the internal organs. All that's for you. You're being cheated, he told her. And he said, you shouldn't share with anybody else. You need to keep all the best parts for yourself. And she thought, you know what, Eshu is right. So she called an emergency meeting to say, hey, look, we're not going to split it like this. Instead of like 30-70, we are doing, we're doing not even a 50-50 in my favor. We're doing 70-30 in my favor, as opposed to I take 30 and then I disperse it. I'm taking the lion's portion of everything. This created an argument. So all the EIMEs, they had their emergency meeting and they were arguing. Well, if you want to take all of these parts, I helped to kill this guy for you. And they were naming names and snitching on themselves in the party, right? They're at the party snitching on themselves. And then Eshu ran out and he called the townspeople. He was like, hey, there's something going on in that house over there. Maybe you guys might want to listen. And as they gathered around, they were listening and they're hearing the names of their family members and their loved ones. And this one's saying, well, I killed him for you. Yeah, well, I killed this one for you. Well, I made that one sick just for you. You're going to take this from me? And they were arguing and fighting. And then the townspeople realized, the real culprit is not Oshun. It's these Iamis in here. And they gathered their machetes, their garden tools, and they went to town on the Iamis. They vindicated Oshun and Orumila because of their good character. Point number 2. Good character and a good reputation is essential in overcoming lies. When we look at the character of so many negative individuals, we have to understand that one's character is always key. The nature of your character will reveal to the world who you are. No matter the lies on the character of Oshun, eventually the truth would be revealed. No one in the community knew who was committing the crimes in the community. These acts were sinister and they were secretive. They even had the audacity to place blame on Oshun and Orumila because they were working against the evildoers. What is Ifa telling us? Ifa is telling us to continue with demonstrating good character. No matter the problem, no matter the issue, let your character, let your reputation be the display for what and who you are. Let your character show forth. If you are doing good, increase doing good, maintain doing good. Because as long as you are in that level of alignment, your character will eventually be revealed. Last but not least, I want to talk about Ogbelara. Ifa says, silent gossipers, quiet slander. There is nobody who will turn his back, who will not have an affair with which to engage in gossip by others. This was the Ifa's declaration to Orunmila when people were using him as the subject of slander. He was advised to offer Ebo. He complied. Now continue with your gossip. No slander will remove the sweetness from honey. Continue with your gossip. It is when you utter slander about me that I become rich. Continue with your gossip. No slander will remove the sweetness from honey. Continue with your gossip. It is when you utter slander about me that I built houses upon houses. Continue with your gossip. No slander will remove the sweetness from honey. Continue with your gossip. It is when you utter slander about me that I gave birth to children and more children. Continue with your gossip. Sweetness can never be removed from honey. No slander will remove the sweetness from honey. Continue with your gossip. It is when you utter slander about me that I become a proud possessor of all Ire. Continue with your gossip. No slander will remove the sweetness from honey. Continue with your gossip. And this Odu, Orunmila lived in Ile-Ife as well. And as he would do, he would travel all over the world from this spot. He helped many people the world over. Those who required his physical assistance, money, food, clothing, shelter, he gave all those things to them for support. And he also supported them in getting them if he couldn't give it to them physically. He helped, he counseled, and many people called him a busybody, a do-gooder. They said he traveled because he could not maintain his home in Ife. They said he was trying to avoid marriage, and then he traveled so he could be a prominent bachelor. All of these slanders and issues became so unbearable that Orunmila went for Ifa consultation. The Babalawo told Orunmila, ignore the slander. Offer a bowl with liquor and oyin, and Orunmila complied. Soon, more people were appreciating Orunmila's good qualities. And in this Odu is very unique. Those individuals who have Ogbelara, the more you hate on that person, the more you talk trash about that person, the better their life gets. Be careful who you're messing with. The last point, know your destiny. An African proverb says that if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. In other words, if you don't know your destiny, anyone's perception, label, definition, or pronouncement will become your own. But when you know who you are, and you know the story, and the story don't go the way they said it goes, you can tell them, that is not my story. Ashe? This verse is telling us that when evil persists, that we must remain focused on what is real. Because no slander will remove the sweetness from honey. No lie will defame you. if it ain't the truth. Hopefully that makes sense. No lie will defame or destroy you if it is not the truth. Your enemy cannot put you in a place that you do not allow. Either you are ignorant to your story or you know your destiny. Evil cannot destroy us if we know the script. If we know the script, we know our true power and we're walking in our destiny. Why must we fear the enemy when we know who we are? I want to end by saying you are beautiful because you are walking in your destiny. Aboru, aboye, aboshishe. Thank you for joining us today. So, I want to make a couple of announcements and also uh, open the chat if I can do that. Shout outs to people. Thank you all for joining us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Thank you once again. I want to shout people out, those people who have joined us. Thank you. Ashe, Abura Boy, Barbara. Thank you. Aujola, Ashe. Thank you. Mark Anthony, good to see you, sir. All right, all right. Timileke, Abura Boy, Ashe. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Ifashola, Fumilayo, good to see you. Iya. Oh man, I think I swiped up. Okay. All right. Okay. Abobo Shishe. Allison, thank you. Sound Ghost. Abo Shishe Aboto. Thank you so much. All right. Hey, Nikos, good to see you. Good to see you, Allison. Awujola, Fadeke, good to see you. Maisha Walker Dean, good to see you. Abo Shisha Aboto, Ariana. Ashe. All right, good to see you, Queen. All right, Abo Shisha Aboto. Ashe. Ashe. Hey, time to seize way. Good silly. All right, good to see you all. Abo Shisha Aboto. Ashe, okay. Ashe, we had a drink. Okay, good. Okay, brother. Kosu, what's up? Okay. I'm trying to get all these in just so that we can see, and then I'm going to make our announcements. All right. Ashe, thank you so much. Yeah, so we have a couple of announcements today. So, up and coming, we will be having, hey, Dad, good to see you. Thank you. Wisdom and Abundance. We will be having um, a discussion. So, as I said before, this is Hoodoo Heritage Month. We're going to have a lecture discussion coming this Friday, which will be the 11th. And the title will be Why is Hoodoo Important in 2024? Black spirituality is Black healing. African spirituality is African liberation. So it will be a talk. I'm going to be giving it online. You can tap in. And this is going to give us solutions moving into the future because we're going to talk about like why are we practicing these traditions? How did we get here, right? And what are things that we can do to move forward, right? So we will talk all of that. That's what we're going to talk about. So if you are interested, I'm going to be uploading the flyer very, very soon. Also, in terms of that, we'll be offering Itadagun Ebo. Okay, so today is Oshefa. We'll be offering Itadagun Ebo next week. So if you are interested in participating in Itadagun, we have some things that people may be interested in doing because one, the Odu is Ateni Rosun, I believe. Ateni Rosun. And with that, Ifa is saying that many of our Oris had slept off. So what we're trying to do is awaken our Oris. That's going to be a ritual with a particular soap and also like a head feeding with rooster. So if you are interested in that, please make a schedule to come, and you can do that with us in the coming weeks. Um, Also, please like and share if you like what we're doing here. If it is interesting to you, if it is beneficial to you, I urge you to make donations to support what we're doing here at Edin Kaifa Temple. In the coming weeks, I will be in Chicago with Chief Popola, and also Chief Popola will be here in Los Angeles. We'll be doing Etefas, Hands of Ifas, divinations, so on and so forth. And we'll be doing those things in Chicago. And I also believe I think we're going to do a temple service in Chicago as well. So stay tuned. Um, and we really, really, really appreciate you joining us today. So I want to end with prayer. Olodumare, we thank you for life. We thank you for health. We thank you for food, clothing, and shelter. We thank you for assisting us in overcoming the challenges of the world, the enemies in our world. Help us to understand that we are much more powerful than what we realize, and help us to act like it. Help us to stand on business, and the business is our destiny. Aboru, Aboye, Aboshishe, Aboto. Thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we will indeed see you next time.
Alone for this time, returning to the peace of mind.